Hi everyone, in today's video I thought I would share with you what our November plans are for our homeschool for my 4th and 7th grader next month. So I don't have a ton of extra stuff planned, but anyway, I thought I'd take you through it and kind of, just walk you through what things are going to look like. So the first thing I'll talk about is this unit study we're doing on fake news. I did a whole other video on it, so I'm not going to go into detail. But I'll just show you that I've got that planned during our group time on Fridays, and hopefully for 4 Fridays. And these are some of the books that we're going to be using to talk about fake news and bias. We're basing it around the 3 Little Pigs. I will link the video that I did of this unit study somewhere here so that you can take a look at it. But that's something extra that we're doing. And then also we're going to be doing some things around Thanksgiving. I had bought this unit study from Mint and Bloom, Thanksgiving, New Perspectives on an Old Story. So we are going to work through this. They have, I believe, 3 books that they recommend. This is the first one. This is a young adult book and it's very long. We're not going to read this whole thing. I just marked a section in the beginning that we're going to read. Basically, let's see. Yeah, we're going to read kind of this little intro section. And then we're going to read this chapter here on the 3 sisters. So that's all we're going to do out of that one. And then the main one that we're going to use each Friday is this one, which we have read this before, but we're going to read it again and do some of the activities that they have in the pack here. And then we're also going to use the third one, I'll show you in a second, as I read aloud. I have this card from a deck of cards I have. I think it's called Caption This, and they're U.S. history cards, and I thought this would be interesting to bring in and kind of analyze this picture after we do this lesson and based on what we've learned. They actually have one in here that's similar. Yeah, they have that picture there. But I thought we have this, and so it would be interesting to see like what information it gives us on the back and what we still find to be true after doing this unit. So I am going to just add that in because I have it. But the other book that we're going to do along with this that they recommended is this one. We have read parts of this before, but we have not read the whole thing. It's Race to the Truth, Colonization, and the Wampanoag Story. This is very long. We got the audiobook for this though. So between me and the audiobook, we will read this during our read aloud time in November. And since I'm on this, I'll show you what else I have for read alouds in November. We will be starting our states and regions unit, which I'll show you in just a minute. But I have this book that we're going to do. My husband's going to do this during our evening read aloud. It's How the States Got Their Shapes by Mark Stein. It's just got a little information on each state, and that's my little schedule that I wrote out for my husband so he can stay on track. But really just talks about the state shapes and boundaries and how those came to be the way that they did. So this is an adult book, not a kid's book. I think that that will be an interesting one to read. And then I have 2 books that were Torchlight readers. If you know, we were doing a few components from Torchlight this year. We picked a handful of the read alouds and then a few other things that have worked their way into our group subjects. But these are 2. One we will finish in November and one starts, I think, towards the end of November. So we tend to do audiobooks for these, but I like to have the actual books on hand. I have one kid who likes to sometimes read aloud. So those are the 4 kind of chapter book read alouds that we have for the month of November. And let me show you our state and region studies. All right, so I have a bunch of stuff for this because we actually attempted to do this 2 years ago and we got 2 states in and I realized that I overplanned for the year. So I set it aside, but this year we are bringing it back. So I had these little notebooks that I made for my kids. We used the Waldock Ways Traveling the States, I think. And I'm not using the rest of the curriculum. I'm really just using the sheets that come with it. So I have one of each of these. And then I had bought a pack on Teachers Pay Teachers that went over the regions. And so I have them divided in here by region. And then there were some extra little things that I had printed at the time to go with it. So we'll use those as well. But the plan is we're going to do 2 states a week. And we will be, let's see, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Ohio is what we will cover in November. And so these were just some of the books that I had for that we will try to utilize. When we're done, we will be doing this book to kind of go through everything that we learned. And I thought that that would go nicely with this book when we finish this book. So we've got those. These, again, I had bought, I think this was 2 years ago when we planned to do this unit. So I have these as well, which we will utilize. Maybe, probably not necessary, but I have them, so we're going to use them. And these were a couple that I bought new this year, this one and the next 2 to go along with it. This one, which is a good recipe one that I'm excited to implement, and then this one as well. This one I don't really like the recipes in, but I like the food facts that it includes, so we'll see which one we end up using. And then we have a ton of state games and like trivia, so I will pull those as well. I haven't done that yet, but that will work its way in. And then these are, my kids love flashcards of any kind. So again, I already had these on hand and pulled them out. I think we have the book that goes with this one. Maybe, I may have gotten rid of it because it's huge and I don't really like it that much, but I have the cards. So anyway, that will be part of that states and regions study that will begin in November. We won't finish it in November though. Okay, so what else do I have? Oh, and this came with one of the packs on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it's just a U.S. state sort. You sort the states into their region. All right, let's see, what else? I did read alouds, I did states and regions, and I did our unit study. So for my son, he already started IEW. I did a video on it. I forget what it's called now. It's like the people in my community or something like that. So that will be new for him. And then for his cooking, I got a new Radish Kits box. This one is one that was on clearance because it's an older box. And so it has 3 recipes in it, which he will do in November. So that's his elective, is cooking. So we will go ahead and use that. And that's all for him. I mean, he still has all his normal stuff, but that's anything that's slightly different. And then my daughter, so she will be doing IEW 1 week, and then she will also be starting Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And then for art, she will be starting You Can Draw in 30 Days by Mark Kistler. I've worked through this book and I really enjoyed it, and so she's going to be starting that for art before we move on to Comic Arts 2. She finished Comic Arts 1 already. She will also be doing this problem-based learning. I added this into her science. It's called Mystery Disease. Clearly I need to still make copies. So I need to go through and finish my planning with this and making copies. But this one is just for her to do. We did a Great Debates one from Royal Fireworks Press, and that one we did as a family. But this one she will be doing with me or independently, not everyone. So we have that for my daughter's elective is sewing, and she's been doing a little bit learning like embroidery stitches. So I borrowed this from the library, and I thought that I'm gonna get some little mini hoops from Amazon, and I thought this is something she can do and then she could use in December to give as gifts for people. So that is part of her elective. All right, so that is everything that I have for her. And then last, we have our creative writing and picture books. So what I have planned for our picture book study are these two books. I have The Sandwich Swap and The Most Magnificent Thing. And I chose these because they both are in this book that we've been using, Text Structures from Picture Books. So typically what we do is the first week with this, we work with each story basically for 2 weeks. So the first week we do the activities in here. And then the second week I bring in a writing center. And I've been using the same pack so far all year. So this, specifically this one, I guess, ties in a bit with our unit study that we're doing, the fake news and bias and stereotyping unit. This ties in with that a little bit, and so for that reason, we are also going to be looking at anti-bias in children's books. So I will be checking some books out from the library, some picture books, and we'll probably actually take a field trip to the library, but I will be we'll be going through them together and looking for, looking at the pictures. Who's represented? Are there, some harmful stereotypes represented? With the, I guess, ultimate goal of helping my children to see that it's really important for kids to be able to see themselves in the books that they're reading, as well as, people like them and their family, but also people in places that are different from them. So if you watched my video where I planned our picture book study unit for the year, I had this in there, and this seemed like a good time to add that one in. So as I said, the first book is The Sandwich Shop. It's about these two little girls who are the best of friends, but they both eat very different things for lunch. One eats peanut butter and jelly sandwich, the other eats pita with hummus, and they both get really, because it's different, get very grossed out by what the other person's eating, and it blows up into this big, a big fight. And anyway, it's a good book for diversity and tolerance and things like that. So I picked this one, and as I said, we will do the activities in here. I pick and choose, but typically we do a quick write. We notice the craft moves. We talk about the structure, and then we do a longer writing assignment from it. And then the second week, we refer to this again, and I bring in a writing center for that week. And either one of these actually could go with this book. This one's Problem Fixers, which I'm going to show you in a minute. A lot of the problems in here are problems like this, so it could go with this one. But I'm going to save it. I think we'll do this one first. I'm going to save this for our second book, which is this one. But when we do this, they could really go either way with it, and I'll show you that in a minute. But what we're going to do is the Superhero Comics Writing Center, and I thought we would pick a superpower for our superhero that relates to, tolerance or anti-bias or things like that. I thought we could choose a superpower like that to kind of go along with this book. So this would be the second week when we're dealing with this book. And then the next one I said is this Most Magnificent Thing. I actually went ahead and got all the books in this series. So there's also The Most Magnificent Makers A to Z and The Most Magnificent Idea. And we've read this book before, but I don't know if they remember it. It's been quite a while, but we will be looking at it differently now because we will really be studying it and talking about, the writer's craft and all of that. So again, the first week we will do the lesson from Text Structures from Picture Books here. I will bring in other STEM picture books for us to look at that week as well. Just like with the sandwich swap, I will bring in other diverse books and things like that. And then the second week is when we will use this writing center. This is Problem Fixers. Now, the problem I picked out is this one, but there are others in here that I think you could definitely use this with the sandwich swap as well, if you picked one of these different problems. But I think we're going to do this one, which is about figuring out what to do when all the playground equipment is damaged. I thought we could really easily tie that into STEM. So we will do this the second week. They have to basically write how they would solve the problem, and we will turn that into a story, a STEM story, essentially. So that is, that's what we're going to be doing for our creative writing and picture book. Okay, so I'm filming this part at a different time than I filmed all the previous clips, but that pretty much wraps up our November plans as far as anything different or out of the ordinary or like special unit studies and things. But I thought I would just show you how I have the first week laid out in the weekly part of my planner. So I have my group subjects here at the top, and I really try to limit these now to about 30 minutes so that the bulk of our day can be spent on my kids' individual work. So we do have a read aloud, and we have been doing this creative form drawing a few mornings a week while we listen to our read aloud. And then we have been doing Grammar Voyage one day. I've been having them do a journal the other day. Right now for the journal, it's real quick. We're just reviewing some of the chapters we did in our Big Ideas for Curious Minds book that we do on Fridays. We're reviewing some of the chapters that we did before I implemented doing journaling along with it. So we're revisiting some of those, and they're just journaling their connection to that idea. And then Wednesday, we do a little bit in our ADHD workbook. And then Thursday, I try to leave with no group work because we have both science and history on Thursdays. But for this, for November, we are going to add in some of these books that I want to have us read through for our unit study that we're doing on Fridays, but there probably won't be time on Friday to read like these books in their entirety. So on Thursdays, that will just be the group work we do, is starting to read through these two books. And then their individual work is the same as always. And then Friday, I put some time notes here for you, not for me, because sometimes people ask, like, how long does that take you to get through? And actually, I lied. It was a little bit for me because I just wanted to make sure. It seemed like I had a lot on our Fridays in November. And so I did want to make sure I wasn't, we tend to school for about 4 hours on Fridays. Monday through Thursday, it can go between 4 and 5, but Fridays I like to keep at about 4 hours. So I did put some times here just to make sure I wasn't off on something. And these are just general ideas. It's not an exact science, but about 30 minutes on our fake news unit study, 30 minutes on our states and regions, 15 on power of the people that we started the week we're in now. Our creative writing is about an hour. Our Thanksgiving unit study will, I think, be about 30 minutes. 15 on our big ideas, 15 on building language, and it takes us about 45 minutes to get through our Friday notebook. So I anticipate this hopefully what the rest of the month will look like as well. And then over here, I just have my November prep list. I still have some things to do. I'm a little behind. I have put, I'm pretty sure, all of my library books on hold. Even the STEM books, I went in and did that since the last clip. And then the picture books for bias and diversity, I think we're going to actually go to the library and look at the books and look for these things rather than me pulling books in. So I'm actually going to cross that off my list because we will just go to the library. I need to still study this a bit more and make copies. I need to print my daughter's Latin. I need to do some printing. I don't have all my printing done. So I need to finish my November copies. Specifically, I need to check Curiosity Chronicles Ancients for my son. I think I may still need to print some things. I need to print some vocab sheets for my daughter, and I've been adding in her learning how to learn. We read the book together on Tuesday, but in her Friday notebook, she answers the questions that are at the end of the chapter. So I need to print out the sheets for that. And then I have to have a plan 1 week for Math with Confidence, the week of Thanksgiving. They assume that everyone's off that week. We are not taking that week off. We just take Thanksgiving off. So I need to make sure I have something for her to do for math that week. Anyway, everything else I think is good to go. I just need to finish those things up, and then we can head into November. So that's what our plan looks like. Let me know down below if you have any questions.